Mario, can you hear us?
I can now, thank you.
Oh, there we go. Then I'll hand it back to you, Mario. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you for having me this evening. So we are here to present the audited financial statements for the City of Kimberly for the year ended December 31st, 2024. So I've prepared a brief PowerPoint to walk everybody through the financial statements, but in your agenda package, you do have the full set of statements. So if there's anything that I don't cover that you'd like me to, please feel free to interrupt me and let me know. So the financial statements audit is now complete, and if it is Council's pleasure to approve the financial statements, we are issuing a clean audit opinion. So these statements do present fairly the results of the City of Kimberly for the year ended December 31st, 2024. And so when we look at the financial results, we definitely saw an improvement this year in your financial position. We could see that your total financial assets increased from 41.8 million to almost 44 million. That's all the cash you have and cash coming in. And then we also saw a corresponding, decrease in our liabilities and our debt. So liabilities, excluding our debt with the MFA, went from 21.6 million down to 20.6, and we also had debt repayments of just over $600,000 this year to get us down to a reduced liability position. And if we take all of the cash we have and coming in less what we owe, we come to the net financial asset, which is a measure of if we settled all of our obligations tomorrow, what would effectively be left in our reserves. And that increased from $15 million to $18.7 million this year. So we do see that increase of $3.7 million. And as we move through, we'll talk about what that means when it gets to the surplus side of things. When we look at your revenues for the year, moving on to your operating results, we did see that your revenues came in strong, $31 million in revenues this year, up from budget of $29.6 million. And we can see there's a couple of areas where we have some large variances. We can see that provincial grants are down from where they were last year and down from budget. Last year, remembering that we had $3.4 million that came to us from the province for the Growing Community Fund grant, which was a one-time unexpected grant. And then this year, we saw some budgets where, or some grant revenues where either it's still sitting deferred revenue because the capital projects didn't go forward, so we couldn't recognize the revenue, or it's grants that didn't come to fruition. But in those two cases, remembering that if the grant didn't get recognized, that means that the spend didn't happen. So it's a net zero impact to your surplus position. Where we did see some positive variances, though, interest income, we talked about your strong financial position. We had almost $2.1 million in interest and investment income this year. And we also had contributed assets, non-cash, but recognized as an increase in your asset base of $1.9 million. So again, very strong revenue year this year. And when we break down, your revenues by source, looks like the formatting is switched to the slideshow, didn't come in too well. But the big item to highlight here is that if you look at your taxation, makes up almost half of your municipal revenues. So that reliance on the taxation revenues to deliver services and to save for the future for infrastructure, very important to understand that relationship, and also why you spend so much time deliberating over the budgets. On the expense side, total expenses came in at 22.8, very comparable to last year, but down from budget at 25.1 million. And there aren't really any giant areas that stand out in here. There's a bit of a theme of, there was some of these grants that didn't come through, so the operating grants, that spend didn't happen. Also, some staffing constraints, which slowed down some, both had savings on wages, but also slowed down some of the projects. So we did see some decreases from budget, but there wasn't anything that was really standing out to us to highlight. But if we bring it all together, we end up at your annual surplus, which came in at $8.1 million versus a budget of $4.4 million. Now, I do want to remind everybody that the way that you prepare your budget, which is a balanced budget, doesn't align with the financial statements. And this slide gets us from the financial statement surplus on the top line to this surplus after transfers, which compares how you did against your balanced budget. So the plan was a surplus from operations of $4.4 million and then a capital spend of $15.4 million, which would have resulted in a deficit of $10.9 million. Over and above that, you had debt to repay, and then you would have funded this deficit created by your capital projects by drawing from your reserves and surpluses to the tune of $11.4 million to get you to balanced. What happened in the year is we ended up with an $8.1 million surplus. Our capital spend came in at $9 million. We add back depreciation or amortization because it's non-funded from taxation and it's not a cash item. And we come to a surplus of $3.7 million. And we transferred that surplus into the reserves. So we ended up with a deficit of $496,000. Now, what's important to remember here is that while we talked about this improved financial position and this growth, this is based on a point in time. And as we move into 2025 and 2026, we can see that we plan to spend 11.4 out of our reserves and we put 3.7 million into it. So we know that there is money to be spent in the coming years for projects that have already been planned. So, while we call it a surplus that we had this year, we call it an $8.1 million surplus on the statements. I hope that this slide gives a bit of context of where it is, where it really isn't a surplus per se, because we know you're going to have to spend on it in the future. Now, a couple other quick stops before I just open it up for questions. Um, you know, when we talk about your accumulated surplus, you have a total accumulated surplus of $125.7 million. But I've spent the past number of slides talking about the fact that you don't have that much in the bank. And that's because we have what's called equity and physical assets. What that number represents is if we take everything that you've historically spent over the past since the city was incorporated, less what you owe on it, less depreciation, that's what that number is. So it's not cash and it's not something that's available to borrow against or to spend. Your true surplus is in your operating and capital fund balance of 2.4 million, which is money that management has to execute on the budget with. And then we have the restricted surplus of $34 million, which is really small on this page, but is found, later on in the statements on page 26. And this is all the money that's been set aside either by council or by statute to be spent in the future. And that's where we talk about, if we go back 2 slides, where that 11.4 million was going to be coming out of. So I'm going to stop there and ask if there's any questions on the financial statements before I jump into the audit results.
Council, any questions? All right, go ahead, Mario.
Thank you. So as your auditor, I am required to report to council on how the audit went. And, the fewer bullet points we have, the better it went. And happy to say that the audit was completed on time, and a big thank you to your finance team for making sure that we got all the information that we needed in order to go through the audit and allow us to really spend more time focusing on, okay, what's the quality of the information? What are your processes, as opposed to scrambling to the end to get the statements done on time. There was no deviations from our planned audit approach. When we do our planning through late fall and the winter, we come in and we look at what's changed within the city, and then we say, okay, well, how do we change our audit approach, and what will the testing look like if we have any changes, or when we go and conduct our testing. And if the testing results come in as expected, based on our expectations, that means that we don't have to deviate, which means that we're generally not finding issues that are causing us concern, which is what we would expect to see. And the last item, in today, we see a lot of consideration in terms of, value for money and spending. So I do want to highlight that we do testing of transactions with senior management and for council, that matter, to ensure that we any anomalies there. And I'm happy to report that we had no issues with the testing that we performed. Overall, I thought it was a strong audit, and was happy with how everything came through this year. And there are really no concerns that we have that are required to be brought forward to council this year.
Thanks, Mario. Council, any questions? Councilor McBain.
No questions. Mario, thanks a lot for all the work that you put in and a lot of the explanation that you gave here for the public. I think it's really important to describe what those surpluses mean, because anytime you hear the word surplus, you tend to get people tend to get excited, and there's just money to burn, and that's not necessarily the case. The finance team has done a really good job under Krista and with Jim's guidance to really set us up to be financially prudent in the future. And I think we're continuing on with that, as we went through this year's budget. So anyways, just to wrap it up, thanks, Mario. Really appreciate it. And really appreciate the explanations. I think it really helps the public understand. And thanks to our staff. Thank you.
Anyone else? Council? All right. Thank you, Mario. We appreciate it. Have a good
Thank
night.
you. You as well. Take care.
So moving on, we have a presentation from Tourism Kimberly. Andrew McNair and Todd Catton. Did I say your name wrong? All right, close enough. All right, go ahead. Podium's yours.
Hello. Testing. Awesome. Okay. So my name's Todd Caton. It's pretty close. And I'd like to say thank you to our to Mayor McCormick and city councilors and administration on letting Tourism Kimberly come in. So I'm Todd. I'm the owner of Simply Kimberly and Resort Tours and Transportation with my wife Alicia, who's not here, but she's active in our business as well. And it's my pleasure to introduce to you our new Executive Director of Tourism Kimberly, Andrew McNair. So Andrew is on to month 7 in this role, and he's started off doing a bang-up job with our as our executive director for our destination marketing and management organization. So we're happy to discuss any questions afterwards, and I'll let Andrew go from there.
Thanks, Todd. Is the presentation coming up, or no? I mean, it's not urgent. I mean, I've got what I need here, but I guess it's in. Oh, yeah. So first of all, good evening, Mayor McCormick virtually. Hope you feel better, and council and staff. Thank you for the opportunity to be here and to speak to you this evening. Here, as Todd mentioned, representing Tourism Kimberly, the destination marketing / management organization for for Kimberly municipal resort municipality. Sorry, let's get that mixed up. Just settling into the way things are in BC, coming from the East Coast. So so I arrived here late October, just before I started on November 1st. Been a wonderful 6 months so far. I felt really welcomed into the community and just kind of excited to be here and learn a lot more about it. Kind of the first little while was a lot of listening and learning and kind of getting the feel of the community and everybody. So it's been a pleasure to be here so far. Our role is really to promote Kimberly as a vibrant, welcoming, sustainable year-round destination. And tonight I'm just going to try and give you a bit of a snapshot about who we are, what we do, a little bit into the numbers. Going to keep things fairly kind of high level for this evening, but I welcome questions following the presentation or over a coffee or whatnot in the future. Look forward to getting to know everybody a little better. Who we are. Again, as I mentioned, we're a not-for-profit society, the designated DMO, Destination Marketing Organization for the City of Kimberly. funded in part by the Municipal Regional District Tax, otherwise known as the Hotel Tax, or MRDT, as many of you probably heard the terminology, as well as with support from the city and other partners. As I mentioned, we're one of 14 resort municipalities in British Columbia. And we're here to market Kimberly, support businesses, local tourism businesses as best we can, and ensure that tourism continues to benefit the community in a way that's both respectful and sustainable as well. Yeah. And yeah, I can take quick questions along the way, but again, we'll have plenty of opportunity for that after, I believe. Yeah, so what we do as a DMO, our core work includes destination marketing. So, campaigns, we have marketing campaigns, digital media, travel media outreach, getting articles written that promote Kimberly as a whole by, welcoming, media in as they're here to, ski or bike or, visit the area. So we kind of welcome them here as well as visitor guides and any kind of materials like that come from, another thing we do is visitor information services is a large part of what we do. So we operate the Visitor Information Center, and then also through our website, social media, and local partnerships. For example, we've got our ambassador program coming up June 3rd. That's we partner with local tourism operators to help train their frontline staff in hopes of really making sure that anybody visiting the area has a positive experience no matter where their touch point is. If they come into a local business and anything like that, we want to make sure that their first impression is positive about Kimberly. So we try and make sure that we kind of train people on things that we want them to talk about when they're interacting with our visitors here. Tourism operator support, helping local operators really amplify the reach. Some examples of that would be their listings on our website, sharing of their social media posts, any ads or promotions they may have. We do our best to get that out there as well to kind of make sure that their reach is amplified better. As well as promotion, promo and sponsor of events they may be running as well. Content creation, we do different projects with photo and video and storytelling that captures what's unique about Kimberly. So we try and really kind of capture things, whether it's down in Marysville, what's going on down there, or through some video and photo stuff through the Plattsville area, or all the things that surround us here in Kimberly. So really try and work on some products and projects like that to create lots of good content. And then data and insights to help guide smart decisions and identify trends. So whether it's our web traffic or visitor numbers at the Visitor Information Center, really try and pay attention to some of that data and stats just to kind of guide our decision making. And then of course we work collaboratively with other tourism partners, including Destination BC and Kootenay Rockies Tourism, which is obviously, as many know, based here in Kimberly. Oh, thanks. Say something. Okay. Why tourism matters? It's a major economic driver for Kimberly. I know, we all know that it's one of, if not the most significant industry in the city. It's an important, economic contributor. Brings in, millions of visitors each year. One stat that I pulled out of a report that was shared with me a little while ago was somewhere to the tune of 25 million in 2022 in visitor spending.
Dollars, not visitors.
Sorry, yeah, exactly, yeah. I've got visitor numbers as well. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, and it supports hundreds of jobs. So without tourism, there'd be fewer jobs in the community as well. And it's not just frontline or minimum wage jobs. I mean, there's good jobs in tourism. Whether it's ownership, management positions. There's some good jobs, and it's tourism is often thought of as a job, and I do use the term job, but honestly, it's a career, with plenty of room to grow, and there's opportunity in it as well. So it's definitely a good contributor to the local economy and local jobs. And as we talk about, brings in vital dollars to tourism dependent jobs, that depend on those seasonality. We all know that it's a fairly seasonal operation, summer, winter, but shoulder seasons are also it helps grow those shoulder seasons as well. I'm recognizing the shoulder season isn't quite as long here as it is in some other areas. As far as the weather goes, it's been nice. This spring, it's kind of flipped from winter to spring fairly quick, but shoulder season certainly is something that we want to continue to try and grow a little more and get more heads in the beds, so to speak. So yeah, simply put, tourism helps keep Kimberly vibrant and businesses viable here. The numbers, some more numbers for you. 2023, yeah, here's the estimated visitors in 2023 from a TELUS report were somewhere in the vicinity of 250,000 visitors to Kimberly. And then, when I look at our web traffic, that continues to grow. I think it was up our traffic, unique visitors was up about 30% to 45,000. And visitors was 60,000, up I think 38%. So there's we're seeing positive growth in our web traffic as well. I mean, and so as we try to continue to grow the digital space as well, that's going to kind of more people in. Yeah, in our social media as well, we see increased followers. I didn't pull any specific stats on that, but we have seen good increase in traffic to our social media channels as well. Our visitor base continues to primarily be the Alberta, BC, that rubber tire traffic, some into Saskatchewan and international markets, but there's certainly, as I mentioned earlier, some room to grow the shoulder season, significantly, and plenty of opportunity to grow and attract new visitors to the area. I think, we all know things, south of the border and the kind of the climate right now. I mean, with tourism, and we see a lot of the articles with, Canadian tourism traffic, the patterns are changing. People are rethinking where their travel is. So there's definitely some huge opportunity, I think, there, even to explore different markets. I mean, coming from the East Coast, a little biased, but I think there's opportunity to kind of expand a little further east with visitation as well, as those habits change and kind of, get on that opportunity when it's here, kind of strike while the iron's hot, so to speak. So I continue to kind of do some test markets with a couple of our digital campaigns just to see what maybe new traffic we can bring as well. And then, yeah, we continue to see some growth in niche markets like, biking, food and drink, golf. Golf, I'm hearing, is very strong this summer. It's up already from what I'm hearing from those operators. And hiking and the arts and culture as well. And I see that as a pretty vibrant part of this community as well. That it's already doing well, but I think there's opportunity to continue to grow and spotlight on that as well. So yeah, that's a little bit of numbers. And then, yeah, kind of a balanced approach to, as I mentioned earlier, sort of that sustainable, responsible tourism, kind of that growth. And, what does that mean? I know you hear the buzzword sustainable and whatnot, but I think a lot of that comes around encouraging longer stays and stays in those off-peak times, whether it's, again, we talk about the shoulder season, spring and fall, or in those midweek visits as well, the midweek. So just trying to extend people's stays and when they're coming. And by doing that, and also, promoting those local experiences, but by spreading it out that way and encouraging those longer into the midweek visits or the shoulder season, that helps with the sustainability because you're not getting that influx all at once. You try and kind of spread it out a little bit. So that kind of sort of helps not, we don't want to impact everything that we all love. I mean, that's one thing that I really recognized soon when I come into town was there's a lot of passion about Kimberly and rightfully so. So, a lot of the not the challenge, but I think the opportunity is to, I say, grow it sustainably, but not change what we have. I mean, because there's a reason that people love Kimberly the way it is. They live here to visit. So I think to grow it in a sustainable, responsible way is definitely possible. I think definitely the way to do it. And then again, sharing those stories that really reflect our community value. So when people come in, just talking about the history of Kimberly and what's special about it, and just that, I think that's really important as well. And that also comes back to the ambassador program as well. So making sure that everybody's sort of speaking from the same songbook, so to speak. So yeah, and kind of in closing on that slide is, we don't just want more visitors, we want the right kind of visitors. And that's, ones that are going to kind of help ensure the growth that we want, the way we want to do it. We don't want the busy, go, kind of, big impact on infrastructure and on locals' way of life as well. You know, we don't want to significantly impact that either. We want to keep Kimberly special the way it is. Looking ahead, some of our plans. Again, I talked a little bit about digital marketing, so we want to continue to strengthen that to attract those, you know, year-round visitors, you know, not just in those busy times. So, talking a little bit about some of those things that go on in those less busy times. You know, things are, you know, value with those values aligned travelers. You know, outdoor people, you know, care about their space and the way of life. New content campaigns that highlight, you know, the arts, culture, biking, and the family-friendly experiences too. I mean, you know, it's certainly got a very family-friendly community here, and I think there's, you know, opportunity to just continue to share that with visitors and make sure they understand that it is good for that. And then continuing to support and co-promote events that drive visitation. You know, some examples of that many of you be familiar with would be the Round the Mountain event, you know, the Nordic Western Championships, the Black Spur running event. You know, a lot of those events are ones that are bring in that sort of right kind of visitor, but they also encourage people to come back. You know, they come for the events, but they want to come back, you know, with their families or friends in the future for more visits. So we'll continue to promote events like that, and also try and attract proven events. You know, like other similar types of events like those. And then we want to continue to work closely with city staff and local tourism dependent businesses to align our priorities. So to make sure that, you know, when anything's being planned or discussed around the city or around the area, that if it's something that's, you know, impactful to tourism, that we want to be part of those conversations so that we can ensure that we're all rowing in the same direction, so to speak. And, you know, and like I mentioned earlier, we continue to work with Kootenay Rockies and other regional partners just to ensure that Kimberly does stay top of mind. Partnership with the city. We definitely, you know, we value our partnership and continued partnership with the city. And we will continue to work with the city. We enjoy that relationship. You know, on shared messaging and branding. I mean, for our branding, it's very familiar and the messaging is similar. You know, it's a good place to be, you know, like a tagline. And I couldn't agree more with that when even before I arrived here, kind of reviewing, you know, what Kimberly is about. And then when I was able to visit here for the first time last September, when I came to meet with Todd and the board, it only took me a couple of days to realize that, yeah, I can do this. Yeah, I can be here. And it is a good place to be. So yeah, it was nice to be part of it. So yeah, like I mentioned, continue to share messaging and branding, align on strategic priorities like, you know, infrastructure, events, and resident engagement, and create a destination that's not just great to visit, but also great to live in. And as I mentioned, continued support from the city is crucial for growing our impact as well. So we want to continue that. And what we need to succeed, well, to keep the momentum going, you know, we do ask for continued collaboration and support on shared priorities. You know, for example, operating the visitor information center, that's important. We see over 15,000 visitors into the visitor information center approximately annually. You know, to talk about things, they're looking for resources, looking for things to do, to be able to share what there is around here, and again, to attract that right type of visitor. And then a role in planning and development conversations where tourism is impacted. And I spoke to that briefly in the last slide, just wanting to make sure that we can collaborate on anything that's going to continue to improve and sustain our tourism product here. And then, yeah, shared vision for a balanced, sustainable tourism economy. So yeah, with your support, we can ensure that tourism strengthens and not strains Kimberly. That is pretty much what I have this evening. Like I said, I kind of kept it reasonably high level. I didn't want to dive into any, you know, numbers and charts and too much of that for this evening, but certainly happy to, you know, dig into anything deeper at another time, or, you know, let's sit over a coffee or a meeting, or I'll take any questions now for sure.
Councillor McBain.
Thanks. Thanks, guys. I appreciate the presentation. And Andrew, I'm glad you actually had quite a bit of focus on the shoulder season. Is, I'm sure you're learning pretty quickly. All the businesses, I mean, that's the time they struggle, right?
Yeah,
Is
yeah.
in the November kind of sloppy time, and then is when the ski season's winding down. So that I don't think I'm looking for any specifics right now, putting you guys on the spot, but I think that's the at least from my perspective, where I would love to see groups targeted is in that shoulder season. Like you mentioned too, like the migration of Canadians staying within Canada and not going down to the States as much. There's opportunities to kind of embrace the eclectic, like doing things like, hey, come to Kimberly during shoulder season. It's nice and muddy and that type of thing. So I'm encouraged to at least to hear that you guys are focused on the right things and at least got your eyes on the areas that we can definitely make some improvements, because I know within the business community and just us around the table as well. I mean, if we can start making some gains in some of those soft times of the year, it would be huge.
Well, and certainly, I mean, shoulder season's it's almost become a buzzword, around the industry, honestly. But I mean, it is a thing. But as I mentioned, I mean, yeah, coming into my first spring here, and I arrived late in October, early November, so really didn't see all of shoulder season in the fall, but kind of got hints of it, and then sort of seeing bits of it now. But as I said, it seemed it's almost shorter here than some areas. I mean, I know it's not the same every year, obviously, but with that, I think there's opportunity around that even. I mean, I've been mountain biking month now. Meanwhile, friends back home on the East Coast, they're saying, well, the trails are almost dry, that sort of thing. So there's opportunity to kind of attract, and speak to that, when they can.
We recognize the conference center as a huge.
Oh,
opportunity.
it's,
The shoulder season conference center, October, November, even stuff in early May. That's a well-known opportunity for tourism for Kimberly.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Further, yeah, and thanks, Todd. I appreciate that. And Andrew, you kind of hit it. I mean, I think with climate change now and just everything kind of shifting up, that those shoulder seasons, I know we keep referring to that, they are getting shorter. They're definitely, things are getting dried out quickly. Talking with folks from Fernie, same things there too. So yeah, it's definitely it's happening everywhere. So again, if we can capitalize on some of those times, I think it would be wonderful.
Madam Mayor?
Oh, sorry, Councillor McGuire, and then Councillor Roberts, and then Councillor Cairns. Sorry. Andrew.
Yeah, I mean, similar comments, but yeah, I mean, we also have lower cost flights to Cranbrook during those times of the year too. So just focusing on those shoulder seasons definitely makes sense, and also with the shift in tourism staying within Canada, I think we do have a massive opportunity. Just a question around, you spoke to shifting more focus on those shoulder seasons. I'm curious if there's any specific opportunities that you see, specific ideas that have come up, and also around those more peak season times, whether you've seen challenges within our existing, I don't know, hotel beds or anything like that. I don't know what challenges you're seeing, but I'm just curious about challenges and opportunities in both those areas.
I mean, definitely on the opportunities I mean, Todd mentioned the conference center, and I'm glad you brought up. That's certainly one that I, early on when I got here and just kind of did a bit of a tour of the facility, I mean, it's an impressive facility, and I mean, that, I think there's opportunity to build that, a lot more often than it is now. And I think, and that's just because that's a matter of just networking, and anybody that's, speaking to it, I mean, in their own circles about, conferences, whether they're national or provincial association type conferences or otherwise, there's huge opportunity there. I'm glad you brought up the airport and the flights as well, and thank you for that, because I think most of us have seen the recent announcement with 6 more flights coming in. 3 with each of the airlines. 40 flights, 48,000 seats extra a year. So that's huge. I mean, we need to jump on that and capitalize on it. Fill those flights. So yeah, the opportunities are definitely shoulders.
Skis and golf clubs show up now with the Q400.
Yeah,
years before that was
easier.
a problem.
Yeah. So there's definitely the pieces of the puzzle are there, I think, or a lot of them are, and I think we just need to kind of fit them together properly. And you know, yeah, 6 months in, you kind of a lot of listening and learning to begin.
Mhm.
I don't want to try and come in and just put things on their head. I want to kind of make sure that we do it, you know, properly. But I don't want to wait long either, because yeah, there's definitely some opportunity there. So, and I would welcome any feedback from any of this group as well. I mean, it's yeah, so we're all in this together, I think. So yeah, thank you.
I think we all know we have I think we all know we have an amazing March product, March viewing product. You know, it's often been talked about, like that early October for those 2 weeks. Amazing opportunity. I can speak to, I spoke with one of the golf course pros today. Golf itself, I know it's, you know, golf, there's 7 golf courses. It's looking like it's up 20% from last year already, which is a really big jump for the golf courses. So that's, you know, golfers, our own golf groups that we bring in, we always try to train them to be like, you gotta, you know, take off your golf shirt and put on a t-shirt and put on a pair of flip flops and be really nice and go downtown and spend money. That's what we do. Try and drive that more and more of that. More and more of that. Yeah. Golfers get that.
And really quickly too, like you mentioned about, you know, winter, you know, pros or cons or opportunities. I think, you know, we definitely focus obviously on the ski product, which is amazing. There's a ton of other stuff that goes on, you know, around here in the wintertime as well. You know, not just the arts and the culture, but yeah, I mean, biking trails are, you know, amazing, and the Nordic Center is amazing, and then, you know, the other trails and other things that go on through the winter. So I think that, you know, we'll continue to obviously be strong with the ski products as a tool to promote. But I think, you know, the other ones, if we put a brighter spotlight on the other things as well to attract different visitors as well that are.
To address Woody's question on.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I was next. Were you done?
I was just going to quickly address Woody's question about peak season and shortage of hotel rooms. Oh, sorry.
Just quickly, Woody. Yeah, I know it's one of those. I'm not sure, Councilor Roberts, can you hear me? But we know that there's a shortage of accommodations at the ski hill a lot of the time when the ski hill is basically sold out with peak weekends, busy weekends. It's not just Alberta Family Day and Christmas, New Year's. There's a lot of times, like right now, groups of 12 that want to come out for the summer probably would have a very hard time finding anywhere to stay on the ski hill now. So they go to Cranbrook, which then Cranbrook benefits from the economic spend associated with food and beverage and whatnot. So we know there's a shortage of accommodations at the ski hill for heads and beds, tourism purposes for sure.
Councilor Roberts.
All right, thank you. Well, I might have a bit of an idea of what you can do in the shoulder season. You take your show on the road. You pack up all your goodies and you hit the oil show in Calgary and the support system that they have in Lethbridge. And if you've got enough money, you go to Regina. Those are all those tourists that want to see you and talk to you and find out what they can get when they come here. And that is past practice. Years and years ago, they even had a guy dressed up like Happy Hands that went to the trade shows. And it was amazing how much feedback they got into the chamber/tourism object that we were when they were joined. But the on-the-road process always took place in the spring when it was really quiet here. But that, if you check in, you'll find that that's when most of those trade shows are happening, and it might be a good offset. Just something to think about there, just to share with you.
Thank you. Yeah, no, you're right.
Councilor Kent. The presentation, and it's good to meet you, Andrew. Yeah, and I'm glad to hear you speaking about, you know, building on our strengths and, you know, our nature, our history, culture, and family friendly, pedestrian friendly, those public spaces that, you know, people have really come to treasure about Kimberly, and that it's, you know, really in terms of the skiing and the golf, and that there's a real town right here, right attached to that, to all of that. So it makes me think about the placemaking piece and, you know, the regional roots as well. And I'm wondering about relationship with Destination BC and Destination Canada, where they were putting together routes of, you know, regenerative tourism, really those unique kinds of experiences that people are looking for. That's not your standard it's something that's much more nuanced. And I just wondered if you, and there was quite a bit of funding associated with that. I just wondered if you have an existing relationship with Destination Tourism and Destination
We
Canada.
do, yeah, with Destination BC, yeah, we do collaborate with them, and I'm on monthly call with a couple different organizations to kind of be up to speed on what's going on in those groups. And on the, yeah, they're just in the early stage, well, relatively early stages of launching a new campaign with, and it's got to do with those different routes that they've been putting together. And I'm reaching, well, I'm talking a little bit for the specific details, but no, they're doing a launch in September of a full new campaign. And I think it's next week and week after I'm on a call to kind of get a little bit more detail about that. So I mean, if you want to reach out to me, I could probably pull a little more detail than I can out of my head right now, but there's definitely some stuff going on with that with Destination BC. Yeah. Yes, please do. Thank you. Yeah.
Council, anything further? Okay, I just have a couple comments because I was actually really looking forward to you guys' presentation because I've long been curious about what Tourism Kimberly does because you guys don't, you know, necessarily broadcast loudly what you do. And I guess my frustration, for lack of a better word, is that I read through your presentation and I watched you guys present and I still don't really have a good sense of what it is you guys do. You talk a lot about opportunities and you talk a lot about things you're looking into doing. I don't have the slightest clue what you do. I don't know what your operating budget is. I don't know what you do with the money we give you. I don't know who's on your board of directors. I don't know almost anything about you guys. And I don't feel like at the end of this, I'm any more enlightened. And then just as sort of another comment, like you guys are a destination marketing organization. You're here to sort of essentially like explain, you know, yourselves to us as council. And like, if all due respect, if this is the kind of presentations you give like to other people, you're doing a horrible job of selling this community. And I mean that as nicely as possible. Because like there's no pictures, the font's not the same size, just things that it doesn't feel like you care. And that really bothers me.
Yeah, I think I can address some of those points as well.
Go right ahead.
Yeah. Really, the role of Tourism Kimberly is outward marketing. So there's not a ton of inward marketing in their internal community per se, so much as the upcoming frontline staff training about, you know, the opportunities in Kimberly. But most of the marketing dollars, we have about a $440,000 budget every year, so it's not huge. About what percentage of it comes from the MRDT? 220 comes from the 2% hotel room tax, and we're trying to bump up to 3% to gain an extra $120,000 in the future to put towards marketing. That marketing should be based around bringing more tourists to Kimberly to stay in the accommodations, spend their money, support the stores, etc. Right?
Yeah, no,
that's what the goal is. That's the vision and the goal.
Yeah,
that's what everything works backwards from.
Yeah.
That outward marketing.
So
it just doesn't happen in Kimberly.
No, I get that, but like you could have said where it went. Like, are you where do you spend the advertising dollars?
Largely digital.
With who?
Meta and Google primarily. We do some print.
With who?
Trench. Just in the process of getting some Canada. And I'm speaking just from the last 6 months, 6 months coming in.
Yeah.
That's where some of our largely where our digital campaigns go. And then just back to, I'll just quickly review on slide 3. And I am guilty sometimes of speaking quickly in presentations, I'll be honest. But our core work, as in slide 3, did discuss a lot about what we do. Destination marketing, which is campaigns, both digital and print campaigns, travel media outreach, visitor guides, visitor information services. So operating the visitor information center through our website, social media, local partnerships. And we mentioned the ambassador program on that. Tourism operator support. So helping local operators amplify their reach, and mention the examples of that. So listings on our website, sharing social sponsor of events. Content creation, photo, video, storytelling that captures Kimberly's unique spirit, data and insights to help create smart decisions and identify trends, and work collaboratively with tourism partners. Destination based Rockies tourism. So that's a high level snapshot of what we do. I'd love to sit down and chat more if you have specific questions, or I mean,
I just gave you a bunch, but you didn't really answer them, right? So, and I don't mean any disrespect by this. It's just the thing where like, we've had a lot of nonprofits come through here in the last couple of months, and all due respect, I'm new in this role too. I've been in this role about 6-7 months.
Yeah.
So I completely respect the trying to get a handle on all the things, right? And like 6 months and I'm doing this today.
and I try
So
to keep
just a second, I'm still talking.
Sure.
So I get all of that. I guess it's this thing where I was hoping for something very tangible that gave me a lot of confidence in how you guys were moving forward. And it just feels like you're still figuring stuff out.
I apologize if it came across that way. I was told approximately 10 minutes. So I tried to keep a presentation that as much as I could get across in 10 minutes or so. I didn't spend a lot of time with photos and pretty stuff. I tried to be concise and figuring that photos on a presentation are more distracting and trying to like engage with my audience. So that was, I guess, less of a priority for me, but.
Councillor McBain?
Yeah, I think just in the essence of time, and I understand you've got some questions, Diana, I think it would probably be a better use of our time if you guys scheduled something offline and keep things moving. Just, yeah, that would be my recommendation.
Yeah, fair enough. Thanks for coming in, guys.
Thank you. You're welcome.
All right. Okay, so moving on, we have bylaws for reading. So can I get a motion to approve first and second reading to bylaw number 2785, official community plan bylaw number 2600, amendment number 7, 2025. Mover, please, Councillor McGuire, seconder, Councillor Dunneback. And then all in favor? Oh, wait, no, never mind. Claw that back. Claw that back. Okay. Is it someone? It's Troy. All right. Have at her, Troy.
Yes, thank you, Council Fox. I'll just give a bit of a background on the two bylaws being presented here for consideration tonight. So as you stated there's bylaw 2785 is a proposed amendment to the official community plan, land use plan, and bylaw 2786 is a proposed amendment to the City of Kimberley zoning bylaw 1850 zoning map. So this is the subject property here is actually part of the larger Purcell Golf property on the kind of the west side of that parcel. Some of council that were here about 10 years ago or so now, there was a larger portion of the west end here that was subdivided off and went through similar amendments to see the development of some kind of larger semi-service properties for some single-family homes along there. The parcel that's the subject of these two bylaws is actually kind of a remnant of that. It's kind of disconnected from the wider Purcell Golf property by river access dedication that was an outcome of that prior development plan. And so it's similar terrain. It's that kind of river valley hillside, some steep sloped areas, but some suitable more than one suitable location on here, I think, to see the development of some housing on there. This proposal will redesignate, if approved, will redesignate the lands in the official community plan, land use plan from parks, recreation, and open space to residential. And then the zoning of the subject property would be changed from the P3 recreation zone to the RL residential limited zone. And the lots prior to that were actually zoned at the time it was R13, but that through the small scale multi-unit housing amendments, that and some other sites were renamed and redesignated as the RL residential limited zone. Just a couple more quick thoughts there. There's, I'm happy to answer more questions. We'll skip through some of the details in the report there. If the land use amendments are approved, there will be further development approvals required prior to that. So there would be a development permit requirement here for development, given the steep slope hazard area, the wildfire hazard area. And then as well, we've already identified obviously that there's potential to connect this to the city's water system, and that would be a requirement, but it's not practical to connect to the city sanitary sewer network, because there is a sewer main that's runs below this property from the campground area, but it is a force main system that's not practical to tie in for this small scale of development. And that's similar to the other sites to the west here. Those have been authorized to just have an on-site wastewater system there, but that does require development variance permit consideration by council as well. And it's also been identified that if development is, if the amendments are supported and approved, that there likely at least be one additional fire hydrant required, possibly two, depending on the location of the dwelling. Access permits for access to St. Mary Lake Road. More details available on that, but that can be confirmed at the development permit stage. But it's looked at as there's probably more than one option for identifying a suitable access route. And like I said, as being in the steep slope and wildfire hazard areas, there'll be some assessment reports required to be submitted as part of the development permit process for that, should the amendments be supported by council. One other quick note before I wrap is just that because there's an OCP amendment involved, that there will be requirement for a public hearing on this one.
Okay. We'll start with Councillor Roberts.
Thank you. Troy, I'm just looking at the picture here. It appears that the two lots that are immediately to the west of this piece of property are already inhabited in what looks like residential opportunities. So what we're doing is not really that rare, except for the fact that we need to, it's a unique piece of land. Would that be correct?
Yeah, in fact, there's 4 similar parcels immediately west of this. So yeah, it's essentially matching the land use designations to follow that example.
Yeah. Thank you.
Councillor McBain.
Yeah, thanks, Troy. That's pretty much what I was going to say too. Essentially, we're just getting this in line with what's adjacent to it, and really, other than having each one of them having to get their own septic, they're just essentially residential lots, and this is just getting in line with that. Yeah, that's all.
Councillor Dunnebeck.
Pardon me. I'm wondering what the capacity of lots look like here, Troy.
It's just a single lot that's proposed.
So one unit?
One unit. The RL zoning does allow for the potential for a secondary suite to be as like a secondary unit within the principal building, but so maximum of 2 units, or one main unit and one secondary unit. Yep.
Sir McGuire.
Yeah, I have a few questions. I'm just curious why this lot wasn't included when they originally did that development down there. I know that road right away was put in at the same time as, so that's the first question. The second question is just around that access, whether we're ever planning on actually installing a road down to the river there. And if so, would it make more sense for this lot to have an access off of future road as opposed to off of St. Mary's Lake Road, just for safety and for, I don't know, just question. And then the third question is just around whether this lot has any more severe constraints as far as slopes and and access, then the lots adjacent. And then the fourth question would be, okay, I'll let you first point to those three. Okay, we'll start with those three.
I already forgot the first one. Sorry. Yeah, I think the first one was about why wasn't this done or included prior. No, but maybe the short answer is it wasn't contemplated as the original lands of that, like the original project that they had identified, that the golf course owners at the time had identified as a future development area. And the road access, the road dedication there, which was a requirement of subdivision, and wasn't well understood at the time of, like, early on in the proposal, but was confirmed obviously through and prior to final approval. So this kind of remnant piece was kind of created, I guess, as a result of that. So it was, they're already so far along in the other approvals that they didn't include that there. The second question, I think, was more about the road. So there's no firm plan at this point to, like, when and how to develop that river access. However, parts of it has been improved for part of the new golf course holes down along by the river there. They've been working on for a while. And so that, that's my understanding, that's sort of roughly roughed in for that. And so, speaking of tourism development, that was part of the concept here was, it's one of the things that's not well understood is that we're actually, located along the St. River. We have very poor access right now. And so this was, one access point that has been created to be able to help address that. There's other public lands obtained further west here as part of the other developments there, and working towards identifying others, I guess, as we progress here. But that's a little bit of a a separate initiative, separate project. I know for sure that there's river users and stuff that are certainly keen on improving river access there. So we have the dedication there. I guess it's just a matter of coming up with that plan to see it improved and enhanced there. And the third question, sorry, I've now forgotten.
Whether the access and slope constraints are more severe
yes,
than
yeah.
neighboring lots.
Yeah, I would say there's nothing more significant or major improvement either. There's very similar kind of slope condition. There's a like I said, there's some flat spots for where the house could be built. The steeper section or the steep bank part is kind of along the southern edge of the proposed parcel here, similar to as it is. It's kind of mid parcel on those western parcels, I guess. But so nothing unusual or it's fairly consistent, I guess, that way.
Yeah, I guess my request would be to consider that access when you're providing access, because maybe there's a possibility that they could build their access through our road right away with the intention of, when we develop that road right away, then it becomes ours, and they have a shorter driveway to maintain.
That's a possibility to consider.
And then the last question was just around the water line, and whether, I know that we extended the water line from the golf course for some of those developments, and I don't remember. This might be a question for Nick. I don't remember why that was done, or whether there's an issue with different pressure zones or anything like that needs to be considered.
I don't think it was that. I think it was more for the more immediate adjacent lots. The water main is right there on that side. The other lots to the west of that, we had to extend over that way because it was on the opposite side of the road at that point, and was preferable, I think, than to kind of cutting through the road.
Council, anything further? So, now I lost my place. Okay, so we are voting on first and second reading. All in favor? Yes. Did I move it? We did move it. Yeah. No, we did that before. We did that part. Okay, and then in favor. Sandra? Okay. All right, and then, the next is that council provide first and second reading to bylaw number 2786, City of Kimberley zoning bylaw number 1850, amendment number 180, 2025. Mover and seconder, mover Councillor McBain, seconder Councillor Cairns. Okay, and that council direct the corporate vote. Sorry. All in favor? Unopposed? Councillor Dunneback is opposed. Thank you. Oh, no, you're in favor. Sorry. Slow draw. Confusing me, Kevin. My goodness. Okay. And then that council direct the corporate officer to schedule an electronic public hearing for bylaw number 2785 and bylaw number 2786 for the regular meeting of council on Monday, June 9th at 7 p.m. Mover, Councillor McGuire, seconder, Councillor McBain. All in favor? Yes, I waited for you, Kevin, this time. Excellent. Okay. Perfect. So then, business. So we have, what is this? Okay, so we have a motion that the Chief Administrative Officer and Manager of Planning and Sustainability be authorized to execute the 2025-26 annual operating agreement with BC Transit for the Kimberley Transit System as attached to the staff report dated May 12th, 2025 from the Manager of Planning and Sustainability. Can I have a mover, please? Councillor McBain, Councillor Dunneback seconds. I think we're back to you, Troy.
Thank you.
Oh, there's a lot to get through. Thank you.
Yeah, so this is an annual occurrence. We do have a master operating agreement with BC Transit. It's now called a Transit Service Agreement, which effectively replaced the former master operating agreement. That overall agreement kind of continues year to year, but then there's an annual operating agreement that is renewed or considered for renewal each year, and really just sets kind of reconfirms the rights and responsibilities of the city and BC Transit in terms of providing service, and also helps to kind of confirm the service levels and the projected revenues and cost structure around the service. So we do get a kind of a 3-year budget outlook from BC Transit earlier in the year that helps us to prepare the annual budget and the financial plan. And then this annual agreement comes a little bit later, usually around the time we're wrapping up the budget. And so there's it's our kind of last chance to kind of look to see if there's any adjustments around that. And in this particular case, there's no significant changes from the original budget outlook. So the proposed or the budget that's been approved in the operating budget and 5-year financial plan is no changes required there in this for this year. So I think we're within a few $100s or so, I think is what the numbers turned out to be. So that's a good outlook there. There's sort of a second part of this report. Maybe I'll just speak to it while I'm on a roll here. And there is a second motion for council to consider as that, but also an opportunity. It's unrelated, somewhat, I guess, from the annual operating agreement. But council will recall that last fall, at the September meeting, council approved a 3-year expansion plan memorandum of understanding that looked at expanding the Route 22 Kimberley Cranbrook community service in kind of year 1 of that expansion plan, and then there was 2 other potential year 2, 3 expansion opportunities considered in that memorandum as well. But it's really just the year 1 that is considered as part of the overall requests for transit expansion throughout the province. And of course, our request is subject to kind of corresponding provincial budget approval. Unfortunately, this year we've not been successful. Our I guess a request for expansion there has not been approved for expansion under the wider provincial budget. And so there's a letter attached here that just kind of confirms that. There will be a chance again this fall to kind of reconsider that expansion plan, whether we want to ask for the same service to be expanded or to be considered for expanded in the following year, or whether there's any other changes in there. So it kind of outlined what I think I've reattached the previous 3 expansion memorandum there. But yeah, I guess I'm just asking commenting that if there's any thoughts from council today, or if there's any thoughts between now and kind of end of August or so, to kind of shoot me a note or give me a call or whatever if there's thoughts around that, and we can continue those conversations with BC Transit and hopefully have more success with that next time around.
Yeah, just a question around whether there's been any thought given to approaching Cranbrook to run our commuters service as they have bigger buses. I don't know what that would look like, but I feel like I know that we'll never get bigger buses, so, and they already have them. So I'm just curious if that conversation has ever been breached with City of Cranbrook.
Not maybe in those exact words, but council recall there was the regional transit study report received by council. I'm forgetting the timeline off the top of my head here, but we have had some conversations with Cranbrook and ACOM and regional district around possible expansion or creation, I guess, if you will, of kind of more of a regional transit service model, which, in part our commuter service and our health connection service are kind of part of that. The regional districts involved in other health connection service throughout the region. Cranbrook and ACOM are certainly interested in expanding service as well as so is Kimberly, according to previous discussions with council, interested in providing and collaborating with ACOM to provide more service that way. Cranbrook certainly interested in more service to the airport. So I think there's strong potential there. I don't think Cranbrook's super interested in just taking over our commuter service, and it's not that simple, I guess, but there is some conversations happening with Cranbrook and BC Transit around what those options are, I guess. But those are good questions and good kind of comments to kind of relay and yeah, we'll leave it there.
Yeah, just to further to that, I know from my perspective, I would be happy to even compensate the majority of the cost of the City of Cranbrook's portion of that cost if they were to expand programming to cover Kimberly. So it's just a thought.
Yeah, and another aspect of that is like there, again, maybe those conversations, like maybe there is a way to say, hey, can we swap buses or something from time to time? Like, is there routes that they have that maybe are smaller buses or maybe more suitable certain times or certain days, and maybe those buses, the big buses can be used for the evening runs or whatever the case may be. So yeah, so there's probably options we haven't really thought about, I guess, what I'm trying to say.
Also, anyone else? Okay, so did I already get the mover and seconder? I know. Okay, so then, okay, so all in favor? All right. No, we're good. And then Troy alluded to this, jumping ahead in the agenda. I appreciate that. So then there's another motion that council receive the transit expansion update included in the staff report dated May 12th, 2025 from the manager of planning and sustainability. Can I get a mover? Councillor McGuire, Councillor Karen seconds. All in favor? Excellent. Okay. So then moving on, the next motion is that the 2024 City of Kimberly consolidated financial statements substantially in the form attached to the Chief Financial Officer's staff report dated May 12th, 2025 be accepted and approved. Can I get a mover, please? Councillor McBain, Councillor McGuire seconds. Krista, is this you?
Yes, thank you, Ms. Acting Mayor.
Oh, thank you.
This is further to Mario's presentation at the beginning of the meeting this evening. Staff is recommending that council accept and approve the 2024 consolidated financial statements. And with the approval, we can submit to the province prior to the statutory deadline of May 15th.
Councillor McBain.
No, just a reiteration of thank you to staff. Kristen and Zach, really appreciate working with BDO on this and for successful result. Thank you.
I would also like to express my thanks to our Deputy Chief Financial Officer, Zach Singer. He takes on the bulk of the work for year end and the audit as well.
Council, anything further? And thank you, Zach and Krista. Okay, so then, all in favor? Yes, all in favor. Okay, good, wonderful, excellent. Okay. Oh, I think you guys are done. All right, so then we have a correspondence item from Tim Chapman, program manager of the Youth Climate Corps. Council, thoughts, comments? Councilor McGuire.
I'd support a motion to draft a letter of support for the youth action group to write that grant.
I would echo Woody's statement or Woody's sentiments. I would support this as well.
So then do we need, is that enough of a crafted motion? What Councilor? Okay, perfect. So then, okay, there we go. All right. Okay, so we have. Okay, and then.
Discussion.
All in favor? Excellent. All right. Okay, so we have a couple of in-camera items. So am I missing any?
I can move to closed.
Okay, Councillor McBain is so ahead of us. Okay, so can I get, there's our mover to move into in-camera. Seconder, please. Councillor McGuire. Okay. Oh, all in favor? Yes. I forget that part. I feel like that's, all right. Thanks, everyone.
Second.